Hi, everybody. Hi, we're back. Welcome back to A Parent's Truth, where we have honest conversations about parenting. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Vanessa. Now, this is our third episode
Mhm.
of our series called "How to Help Your Child Find Their Light," something along the lines of that. Whatever.
So, the first two episodes that we filmed, we didn't have guests, and now we have guests. We have Polly and Con. They are in Denver, so we're doing this via Zoom. This is our second Zoom podcast. Yes.
Yes, and Lauren was able to set it up without
All
help.
by myself without Nicole. You guys should be so proud of
down.
me. I even set up the ring light. Anyway,
Yes.
she's on her way home, so if I did it wrong, we'll find out.
Yeah, and we'll get yelled at.
Yeah, totally.
It'll be bad.
So, Con and Polly, we've known them. My family has known their family for forever. Con and Tinos and I were in Greece together back when we were in Greece. I'm not saying dates because none of y'all's business. And I don't want you to know how old I am. And
We're like the Star Wars trailer a long time ago.
yes, there you go. Cut to the start.
Right.
Exactly.
We should just kind of insert that.
We
as well.
should.
Land far, far away.
Yeah. That's so perfect. That is so perfect. Oh my God. So yeah, so we all dance together, and so it's been years that we've known each other, and it's years later. We've both raised families. They have one daughter. I'm not gonna say anything else. We're just gonna get into this, and we're gonna start talking. And
Yeah.
we all know what the topic is. Do you want to start?
Yeah, well, okay, so obviously I haven't met you yet, and except for this moment. So again, thank you for letting us interview you. Lauren and Tino's, both of them were mentioning what an amazing child you have, like extremely talented. Can you tell us a little bit about her talent and what she does, and what you guys do to support her?
Well, Anna is a very interesting kid. She, ever since she was little tiny, she has been a storyteller. So her and her best friend would take Littlest Pet Shop's figurines and sort of create these ultimate amazing stories. So one time I went in and cleaned everything up, thinking I was being a nice mom, and they came in and they said, "You've like destroyed our whole storyland." And I was like, "Oh my God." So they built sets, they made stories, they filmed them. And so, when a lot of kids are on the screen, they weren't, not because we told them not to, just because they had so much fun creating stories.
Mm-hmm.
So they played and played and played. And this was hours and hours and hours. And we just let them do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, during that process, she kind of became herself.
Mm-hmm.
And we just sort of let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the way, she discovered animation. She discovered
Specifically anime type of animation, because
Japanese anime.
Because it's so much richer and the storytelling is so much more vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than say, "Oh, I don't know if you should be doing this or that," we just kind of let her go with it. But not only that, it brought this entire world and culture into our lives and taught us things about how to raise your kids and how to process emotions, because anime is very complex and has really, really deep storylines. It talks about grief, it talks about war, it talks about so many things. So she loved Disney princesses, but she also loved this richer land of anime and the Asian cultures. And so it's just been a really nice, interesting journey to watch her, and we just let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, we could say it was us, but it's mostly her. So,
and much of her talent, much of her talent has been about really the storytelling piece that comes very naturally to her. She's very good at creating the worlds, talking about it. And she realized that, what am I missing? If this is something that I really want to do, what am I missing? So she started working on her artistic side as well and her ability to draw. She had some basic things, but she wanted to refine her style. She wanted to understand more about that. So over the years, she's really been single-mindedly focused on an end goal since she was very young.
Yeah.
And knowing that I want to be involved in some aspect of storytelling this way. And in order for me to do that, I need to be able to figure out how to write, how to draw, how to create the scenes, how to create these worlds in such a way. And over the years, she's been able to not just create the worlds, but create original characters that are her own. And those characters have been growing up along with her. So as she's matured.
Yeah, so she's now writing, she's writing a really cool series of novels about these original characters that she's been able to develop at Warren Tech in the animation program as well. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So can you, I'm sorry, I'm freezing. Can you explain?
Hot, cold.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's just us. It's just us.
In 5 minutes, I'll be hot. So, so I was gonna, while listening to you tell her upbringing and has she had formal training in this, or is she self-taught?
She just played. She just followed her own sense of sort of internal adventure with her best buddy. She's now getting technically trained at Warren Tech, which is a technical school for animation and graphic design.
Okay.
But up to that, it was just kind of her own play world, which is really interesting because I've never discouraged technology. And I've heard a lot of parents say, oh, you need to limit technology. And I was like, but how is she going to fare in the 20th century?
Right.
First century.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
We just talked about that.
So she spends a lot of time on technology, but part of it is she writes stories. She interacts with all her friends writing stories, exchanging art, and she has absolutely no interest in social media.
Okay.
So
that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
She's just played with technology in a way that's fueled her passion, and we just let it fly.
It's the same way when she got her first color set, her crayons. I mean, for her, the computer is a tool. The technology is a tool to express what she wants to do. She uses it as such. It's not about, she doesn't use technology as a distraction. She uses it as an enhancement and a tool for what she wants to do.
Okay. So a little bit ago, Polly, you said it was all her, and I completely understand why you say that, but it was you guys too. It was it was what you instilled in her, and so that she felt comfortable enough and loved enough and confident enough to know that you guys were going to back her and support her no matter what. You guys had a lot to do with where she is now.
Yeah. How did you, would you say that it was an intuitive thing on your part? Like, were you brought up with people that were supporting you in your own crafts growing up, or was, how did that happen for you as parents?
So the environment that we facilitated, I think was a team environment, but it was also based on our individual pasts. So, I was always the kid that my parents were addicts, and I was always the kid that was too sensitive, crying too much, had too much emotion, had too much this, and so as I grew up, I realized that, and I started seeing adults as flawed rather than perfect. I realized that a good percentage of the problems were theirs and not mine. So one thing that we wanted to do was create an environment where whatever emotion she felt, she could express. If she got pissed, she could get mad. If she cried, it wasn't, you really need to, just to be a little stronger. No. We said, cry, feel it, be whoever you are, feel whatever you feel. And there's a very strong confidence that she has that I've noticed in herself, but also around her peers. When her peers throw things at her, throw bullying comments at her, she not only throws it back, she crushes them.
Yes.
And
I
I-
love it.
Anna
We
don't
can
put up with
talk
no shit.
about-
Girlfriend's
yeah.
like,
She's like, that one girl said, oh, you're so robotic, all you do is study. And she's like, honey, I want a job. Sorry.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Get
But
it.
what are you going to do with your life?
Mhm. Yeah.
Popularity is not a transferable job skill. So,
Right. Exactly.
Good point.
Exactly.
so it was sort of like, she just crushes them.
Yeah.
Good for her. And she got that confidence from you guys. That these are learned behaviors.
Yeah.
We're not born with confidence. We're not born. These are all learned behaviors. And we really got into this in the first 2 episodes.
Mhm.
And this is why I thought, oh my God, these guys are perfect for this interview
Mhm.
because of the type of chick Anna is.
Mhm.
And I just was like, oh my God, this couldn't be so yeah, they're gonna be last. They're gonna be the
Yeah.
3rd episode
Okay.
for sure. Just finally, we came into this today not knowing
Yeah.
what episode you guys
Yeah.
were gonna be. Now we know last episode, 3rd
Absolutely.
episode. Well, we'll see what happens with the girls interview
Yeah.
next week. But I think you guys are gonna be the last episode.
I know. I just think it's so amazing to have parents like yourself that were really able to be introspective for a little bit and just realize, what are the things that we want for our daughter, right? What do we want her to feel? How, we were talking about it in the previous episode about creating that self-esteem and support system, right? Having a support system, especially starting that at home, is crucial in a child's upbringing.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We are a product of our own upbringing and our own natural tendencies as well.
Right.
So we try to, we used to joke about it that she will be successful despite us. And in many ways, there's a lot of truth in that, in the sense that we tried not to pass on our problems to her.
Right.
So in many ways, we would catch ourselves and ask, is this my issue or is this hers? So there was times where we tried to really be self-aware without getting too weird about it, but just questioning and saying, you know what, is this something that really is something that we need to talk about with her, or am I projecting my issues onto her?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that we catch ourselves, and the answer is yes, I am projecting onto her. And there are times where, you know what, there was a lot of love in our upbringing, but at the same time, there was a lot of, parents that were trying to figure things out because they had their own issues.
Right.
So we tried to really create the space and the room for her, and really not add onto the problems that you have growing up, but rather try to subtract and remove some of those obstacles to give her the freedom to be who she wants to be.
Well, and here's something that's really interesting, and Lauren, you may have experienced this too, is that we raise her as we've adopted the Greek style rather than the American style. And the reason being is that the first time I went to Greece, it was really strange because there's so many people in such a small space, and they kept taking my stuff. And they were like in my business and all over the place. And I was like, I need my space. And after staying there for 8 months, I cried harder than I have ever cried in my life leaving, because the communal environment was so amazing. And I thought, okay, so here we are as Americans pushing our kids out. Go be independent. Go do it on your own. Don't ask for help. Do it on your own. And I was watching Khan and his sisters in this collective environment be probably the 3 most successful people I've ever met. And I'm like, how is this happening? We need to change our style, or I need to adopt this style and really be there for her in every way possible, and not want to shove her out the door every second. And it's interesting because she's oddly much more independent than I thought she would be. And the 3 of the Khan, his sister's a doctor. His other sister runs the family business and took care of both parents for 20 years without complaining. And I thought, how are these people so successful in such a collective environment?
Yeah, we talked about that a lot yesterday. I'm sure you've heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And when I was growing up, you go down the street and you'd be down there cussing with your friends, and Miss Smith would hear you cussing and be like, I'm calling your mother. And
Yeah, right.
You
right.
can't get home fast enough
Right,
before I
right,
tell your mother
right.
what you're doing. And you just knew, you knew that, because everybody knew everybody, and everybody was raising each other, helping to raise each other's kids. In Greece, when it was time to go, because it was time to go, it was time to go. I knew it was time to go, but it was the last thing I wanted to do. When I first went there, the thing that hit me the hardest was the culture and the feel of the place. I was getting treated better in somebody else's country than I get treated in my own country.
Yeah, we've talked about that
And-
many times,
and
actually.
That was the most shocking thing. When I went to Greece, I was like, yeah, I got raised. America's the best country in the world, all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And when I went to Greece, it did not take me long. And I was there with a group of Americans, and some of them would disagree with me, but this was my experience. It was the quality of life was so freaking different, and I enjoyed it so much.
I know.
And when we left, it was time to go. It was time for me to come home, but it was the last freaking thing I wanted to do. Yeah. And and Tino's has a real problem with when they graduate from high school, they go off to college, and here she is. We're filming. Oh, you're filming?
Yeah.
Hi.
Look, look what I did.
She's so
Yeah.
proud of herself. You got the ring light
Good job.
up.
Thank you. I don't know if it's
Don't leave a
gonna
bunch of
sound any
pictures.
second.
His face, but they're waving.
They're waving.
Oh, hi.
She's
Hi,
not-
Hazel. Hi, Hazel.
You know,
Hi. You guys look nice.
is that every time we come back here,
Mhm.
it's an adjustment period, because
Yeah.
you're there to go, oh, let's meet for coffee, let's talk. We all go out with friends, and somebody's laughing or somebody's crying or somebody's arguing, and it's all normal.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, do you want to meet for coffee in 5 minutes? Yep.
Yeah.
You want to meet for dinner? You come back here and it's like, I have
Yeah.
next Thursday at
Yeah.
4 for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's cool that you made a conscious effort to. I don't think that we did that. We didn't do that. And now that you say that, I wish we would have. I think by default we had a lot of that in the house. But I wish we would have made more of a conscious effort of bringing that culture into the house. I think it would have served us well. That's interesting that you say that,
Yeah.
because I wish I
And
had
think
thought
about it
that.
this way, Lauren. Think about it this way, because
Mhm.
when Anna was little, for example, you know how everybody talks about the terrible twos and things like that, whenever all the kids go into these temper tantrums and everything else.
Mhm.
That wasn't our experience, and part of that was because we realized that she just needs a place to be able to share her feelings, her emotions. Kids get into tantrums because they don't have the vocabulary to express them.
right.
Mhm.
And you provided a safe environment
Right.
for that.
Mhm.
And we got through that. When she became a preteen and then a teen and everything else, we treated her like a young adult and tried to give her the space.
Mhm.
And at times, we treated her probably more maturely than most parents do with their kids. But then at times we weren't afraid to hug her like a little kid.
Mhm.
For the space to be that little kid.
Well, and it seemed like parents of teens were struggling to find a way to communicate more than the teens. It's like they were still trying to make them be a certain way, when the kids were like, oh, I need to be myself.
Yeah, they need to grow,
this
right?
way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just let go. But what's really interesting is that part of what we've done is based on respect. And I got into a conversation with a retired teacher, and she said I retired early not because of the kids, but because of the parents.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I said, why?
Mhm.
I said, can you explain why? And she said, well, if a child does something, fails,
Mhm.
it's my fault. And I said, well, then by nature of the argument, if the child succeeds, it's your fault, or it's your responsibility. And she said, no, it's the child's. It's the child succeeding. I said, well, then we're just raising a bunch of assholes.
Yeah.
Right.
A bunch
Yeah.
of arrogant little assholes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's,
No, it's true.
Mhm.
so
True.
with each teacher that Anna had, I said Anna's success and her failures are on her, because
Mhm.
that's where all her power will come from.
Mhm.
So if she succeeds, it's on her. If she fails, it's on her.
Yeah.
So can we work together on that? And that one teacher actually cried. She's like, "Oh God, thank you."
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's, yeah.
And if she's disrespectful or anything, you come to me and we'll fix it. I don't
Yeah.
expect you to adjust your behavior.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay.
Mhm.
So interesting. She had one teacher that said, Anna's extraordinary.
Mhm.
And I thought, yeah, she is. But it's unfortunate that there's not more of that. It's
Yeah.
like she says, thank you for being my teacher. I really appreciate it. She's very respectful.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why? It's too bad there isn't more of that. But she's got so many people in her corner and supporting her because of that.
Yeah.
Her teachers still are like, if you need anything, letters of recommendation, anything, just let me know.
But she also views her teachers as somebody that is there to share their information with me, not somebody there who's there to torture me or to do my bidding.
Mhm.
She
Right,
has
yeah,
that
it's-
respect.
yeah.
She
Yeah,
has
which is
that
a-
respect.
Yeah, which is a different perspective. You know,
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people have a tendency to look at their teachers, just like you said, like, oh, they're here to like make my life miserable.
Mhm. Give
They
me
just
all
want to
this
give me
homework.
all this homework.
Mhm.
I'm never going to be able to play my game, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And unfortunately for us, especially in high school, we didn't have good experiences with Nicole's teachers. My mom was a teacher for 32 years. I grew up in the house of an educator, and she was one of the best teachers in the city. She would get awards, grants that nobody else could get. She would get award. I mean, she was extremely good at what she did. And so I had really good guidance with Nicole in school. I knew what my responsibility was, what Nicole's responsibility was, and what the teacher's responsibility was. And unfortunately, when Nicole got to high school, it just wasn't there. And you know, we don't have a good school district here. I mean, it is what it is. And she went to a school that could have been great. It was good, but it could have been great, and it wasn't. And so we had that fight all 4 years with her teachers. And what you say about teachers is so incredibly true. The whole family has to work with, but it's about the kid. And I think that's what you're saying there, is that it's about the child. It's not
Right.
about the teacher, because at the end of the day, the teacher has gone to school to learn to do what she needs or he needs to do to be a teacher, and is now getting paid for that. They're doing their job. All of us, parents, teachers, administration, need to be focusing on the child.
Yeah, going back to the whole
Well, and it's
Yeah.
interesting what you said about your mother. I mean, you have a standard in your mind, and they need to meet it. And I agree with you 100%.
Mhm.
Anna's first grade teacher, she was behind in reading, and the teacher favored the like smart kids.
Mhm.
She was very, very obvious about it. Anna was
Mhm.
having stomach problems. She was sick. She didn't want to go to school. She was crying. She was upset. And I said, honey, what's going on? I don't know. I'm just not good enough. I'm just not a very good student.
Oh, Jesus.
So I said, okay, I'm
Mhm.
going to go in for the day.
Mhm.
So I watched as, throughout the day, and the teacher was like, the really smart girl came up and she's like, oh, that's just terrific. Oh, that's just wonderful. You're making me look so good as a teacher. She didn't say that, but
Yeah, but basically
wonderful.
implying it.
And I said, honey, go show her your work. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it. And I said, it's okay. Well, it wasn't, but she took the paper up and she goes, I can't even read this. And I was like,
Wow.
oh,
Those are fighting words.
And then when Anna sat back down, she's like, I don't know what to do. And she shoved her paper underneath all the other papers in a wrinkled mess. And that's why her things weren't getting turned in.
Oh my God.
Because she was just hiding them and shoving because she's getting this response. So poor God. I called Con and I said, tomorrow, here at the school, 4:00. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, principal, teacher, you, me, psychologist.
Right.
And the teacher said, well, the principal's like, well, I'm not sure. I said, I don't care if you're not sure. You're meeting tomorrow at 4.
Exactly.
Nobody treats a kid that way.
Mhm.
Open up your schedule.
I said,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so furious. I'm shaking.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Their parents were like, oh, you know what? Can you tell her this about this teacher and this about this teacher? I was like, no, you tell them.
Oh, that's
So,
Mhm, mhm.
so the teacher, we all sat down together, and the principal ended up crying because I just said, you don't do this. I said, I respect you as a teacher, but you don't talk to the kids that you think are struggling like this. She said, well, should I tell Anna? And she kind of tried to change her tone. She said, should I tell Anna, you need to get up to the level of the rest of the class? And I said, no, you will not say that to my child.
Right.
I said, the level of the rest of the class, is that the level that you teach well at? Because
Yeah.
nobody's good as your worst student. So that makes you a very effective teacher.
Right.
Yeah. You're not
And so-
teaching.
And so she struggled. They set up a whole behavior plan for the teacher to work with Anna. She didn't do any of it.
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
And the next year, she got this phenomenal teacher. And Anna, Anna is the one that did the work that year. But we met with this teacher and told her everything, and she's like, okay, I got it. She jumped a year and a half in reading in 1 year.
See.
And now she's like 5.0 GPA, top 25% of her class. So if you get a teacher that is like that, I know it's so hard.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so infuriating.
It is, and when you're getting teacher after teacher after teacher after teacher every single year, it's very difficult to keep your cookies together. You have to keep it together. And you have a kid that's just struggling and suffering from depression, anxiety, all this, and it's teacher after teacher after. I would say in her 4 years at the school she was at, I would say 80% of her teachers we fought with. I mean, we were bringing her tutor in, and I knew it wasn't us because I grew up with an educator. My whole family, my uncle, he wrote the math questions for the SAT.
Oh.
And when he's the one that wrote the questions, and when they changed the SAT, they called him back to change
it.
Yeah, to change, because they
Yeah.
changed the SAT. And he's the one that he was part of that team that did that. And her sister my mom's sister was there. So I grew up around educators. I knew what a teacher, by the time I had a kid, I knew what a teacher was supposed to do, for Christ's sake. And if you're not going to do it, I knew what I had to do.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of that, teachers have this grand opportunity to be around numerous children throughout their tenure. And so they're affecting these kids. I mean, I know that I still remember my first grade teacher. She beat my ass with a paddle. You know what I mean? Like,
Probably deserved it.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, like, you remember these things. They really do. They affect you in positive ways, and sometimes
They
not.
shape you. They shape you in so many ways.
Oh yeah.
But you can see how delicate the balance is, and it's like a three-legged stool.
Mhm.
The child, the teacher or the coach or whatever it is in a particular environment, and the parents. It's a three-legged stool. If those are not doing their part, this thing is out of balance. It's out of whack.
And it's going to fall.
There's scenarios and there's situations where you can find where it's out of whack. There are times where kids don't apply themselves, or they've grown up in an environment where they feel entitled. That's true. But there's a lot of kids that work very, very hard. There's a lot of educators that some of them are just cruising along, and they're probably 5 years past when they should have retired or looked for another job, but they're still there because they don't have choices. They're that bad.
Right.
And then there are great teachers that shape you, and you look at it and you remember them 40 years later.
Yeah.
And then there are parents that try to do their best. I mean, we stopped being able to keep up with her math abilities
Oh yeah, forget it. Forget it.
in fifth grade.
I know.
You made it longer than me.
But we've also made conscious choices
Mhm.
with our careers, with everything else, with our life. And fortunately, we've had the ability to make those choices, but we've said, you know what? we're not going to travel for business. We're not going to do X, Y, and Z. We prefer to be here. And you know what? If our kid has to stay up till 11 to do homework, we're going to sit right here with her. We may not be able to help her with her homework, but at least we're going to be here and commiserate.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be miserable together. And we're going to get through this.
Exactly. And that's, you know, you do what you have to do. And I understand everybody's situation is different, but one thing that is not, oh crap, my battery's about to go. I gotta go. I forgot to plug it in. I have to go get the cord. But one thing that's not different is it's always about the kid. And I've said this a million times on the podcast. The moment you have that child, it ceases to be about you.
Right.
It's about that child. You have decided to bring that child into the world. The child didn't say, oh, I'm coming into your family and ring the doorbell, you know. You've decided to bring, and it is about the child that you just had, or the 5, like with Vanessa. And you always need to focus on that kid. I'm just gonna go get my guys keep talking.
Yeah.
Vanessa, you have 5 children?
I do have 5 children. My oldest,
I bow down to you. That's true.
No. We just didn't have cable. That's what happened, you know. We just didn't have cable. So I have my oldest one is 24 and my youngest one is 17. So she'll be she says she's officially a senior. Technically not, because, you know, the end of the school year is actually May 20th. But you know what? We'll go ahead and do that. You know, they're not going back to school for the rest of the year anyway. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like for me, I had my children at a much younger age. So, you know, I was having to try to grow up with my children. So, which made my experience completely different, you know. Hi, Hazel. You know, yeah, this is Hazel right here. Hi, Hazel. Okay. You know, in many ways, it was very exciting, and but in other ways, it was a struggle because there was so much more maturing that I needed to do, and things that I needed to understand, and you know. Sometimes it happens after the fact, you know. So you know, the hope with this podcast, like we've talked about in the past, is that we bring to light things that we've learned as a result of us raising children, as a result of, you know, individuals like you, so that we can help. Yeah, sharing is caring, you know.
Yeah. One thing I wrote down when we were putting this together was we're on a journey as preteens, especially as teens. Kids are being taught to focus on the wrong journey. This is my personal opinion. They're taught to focus on, you got to get good grades, you got to do the right thing, don't make any mistakes, all that kind of thing. And I think what we should be focusing as parents is building their self-esteem, because all the rest of it's going to come. Building the self-esteem, learning that they're the architect of their own lives. RuPaul goes into a whole thing about that. And with our support, let's see, they are the conductor of their consciousness that will move them through life. They have a frequency that is unique to them, and it's our responsibility to let them explore that and find out what that frequency is. It's like you guys were saying about how you let Anna express her emotions and feel her emotions, and it's okay. So many times you hear, we touched on this a little bit yesterday, you hear parents saying, shut up. I mean, the way I hear some people talk to their kids in the supermarket, stop crying. What are you crying about? I'll give you something to cry about. You know, that's in the Black households. And
Filipino households also, by the way.
Brought you in this world, I can take you, you know, that kind of thing. And you guys nurtured that, which gave her the confidence to know that it's okay. And she's tapping in all the while. It's like, you remember the old radios? And you would go to the next station, it'd be all fuzzy. Yeah. You'd have to be like really light on the dial to get it right, so it was crystal clear. And you're tuning in, and then it's like, bam, you got the station. And I feel like you guys really did that with Anna.
Yeah. How does it make you guys feel that your daughter at such a young age is just really like has this great capacity, this emotional intelligence that most children her age, most, I guess, adults,
Yeah.
have,
People my age
Right.
don't.
It's fantastic. She did a research paper on emotional intelligence, which is really interesting.
Look at
Her
that.
final,
We're
yeah,
in tune, people.
it's great. And at the same time, I think for her, it's a struggle
Uh-huh.
because she has a level of intellectual intelligence, but also emotional and social intelligence because we wanted to focus on all of them.
Mhm.
So she was, well-rounded.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes it's a struggle because there's her peers around her are,
Delayed?
some are like that and some aren't.
Mhm.
And because she wants something for her life and because she takes things fairly seriously and she has that higher level of emotional intelligence, I think sometimes it's frustrating. Like she's like considered a therapist in her group. They
Aw.
all come to her to fix their problems, and she's like, okay, here's what you need to do.
Right.
But I think sometimes I don't know if she feels like they're always there for her.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's
Yeah.
great, and I keep telling her, there's so many of her peers that said, "Oh, high school's so fun," and I said, "Oh my God, I hated every single day of high school." And when I got out, I felt like I was let out of prison. I said, "What?" I said, "High school's the only time when all the wrong things are important."
Right.
Yeah.
And once you step out of high school, the world changes drastically. Now, the kids that are in high school that are, I want to be popular, I want to be this, I don't really care about school, and oh my God, you're the class brain, you're so nerdy, whatever. I said, a lot of studies show that doesn't really fare well in life.
No.
I said, there's a lot of kids that when you walk into the classroom, they got their head down and they're trying to figure it out in whatever way, and other kids are laughing at them. I said, when I went to my high school reunion,
Mhm.
there was this kid that a lot of the girls made fun of and
Mhm.
asked him to help with their homework, and they called him Purple Head. I don't know why. But we were at our high school reunion and they're like, "Can you believe Purple Head is so attractive and successful?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I can.
So he actually paid attention and did what he was
Yeah.
supposed to do. I said,
they were-
"What a shock."
Right. They were focusing on the right things as
Yeah,
opposed to all the things
And
that,
what's unbelievable is that they didn't get that.
no.
They're adults
know.
now when they didn't get
Can you
that.
believe that? I said, "Why are you still saying all these years later, can you believe that?" Of course you can believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Why
did
can't
everything
you
he needed
believe
to do. He had his shit together.
Yeah.
So what a shock.
Oh my God. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That's so funny.
Well, I
And-
mean, and that's very, again, telling of how these other children were raised, like what their focus was on, was
Mhm.
just to be popular and do the things that really didn't matter versus Mr. Purplehead,
Yeah,
Good for
there's a lot
Mr.
of really super
Purplehead.
social kids that are awesome. There's a lot of super social kids that are jerks.
Right.
A lot of, so it's just finding the quality in the whole thing.
Right.
How did you guys handle there's something else that RuPaul talks about, and I used to talk to Nicole about this because I had this growing up because of ballet. A lot of people at school didn't understand my sister and I because we were so focused, not just on school. We didn't get to do a lot of the things that kids get to do, sleepover, stuff like that. When we did, they were with our ballet friends, not our school friends. We spent more time at ballet than we did at school. So I don't even know if Anna went through this, but getting them to understand that not everybody, you're not going to like everybody and everybody's not going to like you, and that's okay. It's not a personal assault to although people will treat it like it is, it's not a personal assault to who you are. And because that's devastating for a lot of kids in middle school and high school, that some people don't like them. That's devastating that's like it. Like the world's going to stop spinning. So that was for us, it was a tough lesson to go through with Nicole. But it's like, it's okay. You don't have to like everybody. You can work with somebody and not even like them, but you have a professional relationship with them. And did you guys experience that?
Yeah, how did you navigate around that if it did come up?
Yeah, we had plenty of those. I mean, starting with, you know, the forced projects that they have to work on and how people approach the work itself.
Mhm.
The big thing with us is we've always tried to put it in context for her, in like keeping in mind where she was striving to be, because her career doesn't end with high school. Her life continues past that. So keeping that in mind and saying, look, we try to put it in context with us in our professional lives. We don't like everybody that we work with, but we have to respect them. We have to respect what they can contribute. And if people cross a line, you call them on it respectfully, but you call them on it. And that's how she was even from a young age, and saying, okay, you know what? Hey, you pull your weight, I'll pull my weight. You do this part, I do that part. So we tried to give her the skills to be able to articulate that, to communicate that in a way that's honest, respectful, but fearless at the same time, and calling a spade and saying, you know what, hey, here's the situation. I don't like the fact that you changed the work that I did on there.
Right.
And understanding, again, conflict management skills, understanding how to navigate a lot of those pieces from there. But again, in context, if you don't like somebody, okay, what is it that they do that you don't like? So separating the person from the behavior. And that allowed her to say, okay, what is it that you do that people don't like? Not why don't they like you? Because you're separating the person from the behavior or the attributes that they have. And that way it's a lot easier to criticize the behavior. You know, even with your friends, I mean, you have some best friends. The fact that she's been together with her best friend from the first day of kindergarten, they're more like sisters than they are friends. But she's had long-term friends along the way as well. But part of the way that she's been able to do it is that she separates things. She knows that her friends sometimes behave in shitty ways, but she separates that from the person. I still love you, even though what you did was shitty.
Yeah.
She's capable of distinguishing the two, and that's made it easier for her to be able to do that. And that's a life skill. Again,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was just gonna
everything is about her emotional maturity, her emotional intelligence, and navigating her way through life. She went to Greece before she could walk. So she was exposed to a multicultural environment from a very young age. She's on her 4th passport at this point. So she's traveled more miles and seen more things. She's probably forgotten more things in her young age than most people experience in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's put her in a whole different area mindset wise. She's wiser beyond her years because of those things, because of what she's been exposed to. But at the same time, she's been given the room to process that stuff and be able to apply it. And as she has success with this behavior, with this way of dealing with things, it reinforces her confidence, because that's where confidence comes from.
Yeah.
Right.
When you can be successful in dealing with this, she realizes that she has confidence. When bullies try to approach her and kind of put her down because she knows what she wants, and it's so against the high school culture of being popular or being part of a particular group and everything else, she hangs out with the nerds because the nerds are her friends and they have a lot of common interests.
And
Mhm.
I
And she
hate
doesn't
that
care.
word. Nerds get jobs.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I think-
Yes.
I look at
totally get jobs.
Yeah, and see,
I'm a nerd.
I look at nerds as like, I tell people I'm a nerd, and I think nerd is the most positive
Yes.
label
Yeah.
that you could put on somebody.
Yeah. So I guess I should rephrase it. I don't
Says
like
it all.
the negative connotation, because it's they're the kids that really get
But
jobs.
she's been raised by two nerds.
Yeah.
But she's been raised by two nerds that aren't afraid to be silly. Aren't
Yeah.
afraid to make fun of themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
the self-deprecation in this house is absolutely phenomenal. We kind of compete on that. It's an Olympic sport. So
Uh-huh.
we kind of poke fun at each other and ourselves. And that allows her, again, the room to be imperfect from that piece.
Mhm.
Well,
And
Go ahead.
Mhm.
Sorry.
don't you think it's important that kids know that their parents aren't perfect? That
Yes.
was one thing I never wanted to have her think, ever, from the time she came out. I always wanted to be honest with her and tell her, and if I made mistakes or Tino's made mistakes, we wanted to be able to apologize for those mistakes. It was so incredibly important that she knew that we are not don't expect us to be. We have no clue what we're doing here. We're gonna screw this thing up sometimes, and if we do, we will be there to apologize as soon as we realize that we screwed up.
Right. But also to remember that we're doing it from a place of love.
Of love,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my upbringing was very, very unique in the sense that my dad was a doctor.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of money.
Mhm.
The outside exterior was, wow, you guys got it all together. You've got this big house, everything's great. Your dad's a doctor, and they were raging abusive addicts.
Wow.
Now, what that did, and what I wanted to make sure didn't happen with Anna, is that when you have that and your home base is so rocky,
Mhm.
you go into the school environment and you will turn yourself inside out to fit in.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
You will
Absolutely.
lose yourself. You will do it easily.
Mhm.
You will, whatever it takes to fit in, you will do.
Mhm.
And so one thing that, and I don't know how important it is, but for us it was important, is that she had a stable base in Con and I,
Mhm.
so that she had a stable foundation here. So what she was doing with her own life and in her family, with going to Greece or whatever, that was her life.
Mhm.
And high school was a vehicle.
Right.
And that was how it was from the very beginning, because I never wanted her to walk in and have somebody say, oh, hey, come over here and do this. Or
Yeah.
she's like, well, you had everything going for you. You had, you were a cheerleader, you were this, you were that. And I said, I was miserable.
Mhm.
I would look at the drama kids and the art kids and go, God, I wish I was over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kids that I hung out with, I wanted so desperately to fit in that I would turn myself inside and out, were mean.
Yeah.
They were kind of abusive. They were
Mhm.
manipulative. Man, they knew how to get what they wanted.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure that her world was so solid and so much bigger than that, so that
Yeah.
when she went into that, she wasn't a boat that was like this,
Yeah.
like smooth sailing. It's like,
Yeah.
you can't rock me because I'm solid, and I, she had everything she needed foundationally.
Yeah, she wasn't trying to fill a void
Right.
that.
Exactly.
She knew she was loved, Lauren. She knew she was
Yeah.
loved. She still knows that she's loved unconditionally.
Yeah, and that brings up another topic. Some kids, and I experienced, we went through.
Scoot over this way.
Oh.
You're getting out of the shot.
Am I? Really?
She's all,
Yeah,
hi.
my back is like giving me the flux today. I think I slept on it weird. But in my experience with Nicole has, with Tinos and I, Nicole has always known that she's loved, but there's a family member that is important to a kid's life, that it was a bad relationship. It still is. And so when you have that nuclear family in the house, the people that they live with, that's great. She knows that she's loved, but she has to have that from outside too. And when she's not getting it from the outside, the parents or whoever is her guardian, your kid's guardian in the house, has to let that kid know it's them, it's not you.
Right.
And we didn't, for the longest time, we didn't do that. It was a huge mistake that we made with Nicole, and we didn't do that. And so that lended itself to some, really bad episodes, is the best way that I can put it. Once we realized the mistake we were making, and I'm not the type of person that keeps making the same mistake because it's easier. I don't care how hard it is, I'm going to fix it.
Right.
So is Tino's. So, we sat Nicole down and we talked to her and we apologized to her and we made it. But by now she's like in high school. I mean, it took us that long.
And I had a very similar experience that I'm still continuing to deal with on a regular basis, you know.
And I think it what I'm trying to say is, and watching her friends, okay, and some of the things that her friends went through in high school with their families. To me, it's all well and good that this kid is in the house and they're loved, but it takes so much more than that. And there's no secret sauce, but if there is a secret sauce, I think you guys are closest out of everybody that I know. You guys are closest to having that recipe than anybody I know, and that's why I really wanted to have you guys on. I know it's not perfect because nothing is perfect, but you have some kind of insight, separately and together, that is the reason why Anna is the way she is. Yes, she put the work in, she did all of that, but that comes from somewhere. Like I said, they don't come into this world knowing anything. We have to teach it to them. They learn it from us. And somehow, it sounds like with you guys, it's a conscious thing, and it's also an instinctual. It's an unconscious thing.
Yep.
It's something about the two of you separately, even with your upbringing, Polly. You made a conscious effort there. Okay, my kid ain't going through this shit. But somehow together, separately, you guys came together, and you have this kid now that's getting ready to take the next step on such solid ground. And so many of these kids are taking the next step, and they're not on they're like on water. They're not, you know, and
But I think what you guys went through is really good with this other family member, because my mom, you know, she's an addict, and when she got sober, she came to live with us for 10 years. I mean, so she was around Anna for 10 years. Anna would say to me, why are you guys always fighting? Why are you so mad at your mom? And I finally sat her down and said, here's why. You know, so why is she here? It's like, she's here because she can't, you know, she can't go out in the world and take care of herself. She's here because she blew it. But the interesting thing is, I you know, it wasn't a good environment for her for a long time. But the interesting thing is, at one point, my mom and I were fighting really hard, and she was a dry drunk. She was still mean. She just burst out laughing. Not help myself. I said, oh my God, when are you going to stop doing this? And we both just laughed and laughed.
That's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I don't know. Why do I said, I don't know. What the hell is wrong with you? Ever since then, we've been laughing, but we also included Anna in the whole process and said, you know, this is not easy. It's not easy to get sober. Relationships aren't easy. Sometimes you have to apologize. You have to go through hell. And at the end, if you all end up close and together and talk it out, then it's going to be okay.
And sometimes, and unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't happen. That's what.
Well, and sometimes it's best that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
Because that person has to work on themselves too. My mom did the work, but if she hadn't, man.
It would be looking different right now.
Right. The process can actually look super painful from, you know, this perspective. You're like, oh
yeah, damn.
No, but, right, but to be able to bring levity to it, you know, Polly, is a incredible thing, because a lot of people, like, you know, most of us just get so bombarded with the negativity of it, and it's like you took you took that mental break and said, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
I remember saying to my mom, I said, you can't fix your life through Anna. You don't get to wash her clothes and fold them and make everything all wonderful for her. I get to do that. So, I mean, there was a lot.
I think when I read your post today, and I actually want to read that. I saved it to my photo so I wouldn't lose it again.
I saw her do it.
I tried 3 times. So Polly posted this. You did this on Mother's Day, right? Yes, that's Sunday. She said about Anna, Mother's Day, I have loved every minute of being her mother. She has been an absolute joy. We told her if she wants to write and do animation, she has to do her part and we would do ours. She graduated with a 5.0 GPA, which I didn't even know that existed
Bravo.
until I read this
I didn't
post.
either.
She worked and worked and worked and now gets to go to her dream school. So many told me teen years would be hard. They weren't. We talked, we laughed, we worked hard to keep priorities in check, and it is a glorious time full of conversations and being part of a young woman becoming her own little badass self. During the quarantine, she has not complained. She does walk a clock and walks every hour. She laughs and makes us all happy. She makes the most of even tough situations. I am so proud of her and love every minute of being her mother. My favorite part of what you said was, I love every minute of being her mother. And I feel like that came from a place of every moment you are her mother or were her mother in her past, you were so conscious of it. And you were so conscious of the fact that you loved in that moment being her mother. And then the next moment you came and you were, and that was just so amazing to me. I really wanted to share that.
Yeah, you could feel it resonate on a molecular level.
Yeah.
You know,
For us.
because my childhood was not ideal,
Mm-hmm.
nobody stepped on my side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stepped on her side.
Mhm.
So rather than say, oh gosh, you're such a, so-and-so teenager, I would go on her side and find out what the problem was. I would go on her side and go through it with her. And by doing that, I realized it's a really hard life.
Yeah.
Teenagers are asked to be emotionally prepared. No one gives them the skills. They're asked to be socially prepared. No one gives them the skills. They're asked to be intellectually prepared. They're given the skills sometimes.
Yeah.
But all these things are being asked, and then they have to act one way around teachers, one way around parents, one way around their peers. They have to like shift gears all the time. And the more I listened, the more I went, Jesus, this is really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard when you don't have the support,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard when you do.
Yep.
Because you get into that world and there nobody is on your side. It's like she got in trouble because there was a big cheating ring. And her teacher took her aside and he said, "Are you part of this?" She's like, "No." She said, "Why am I getting in trouble because I'm doing a good job?"
Yeah.
You know, I'm cheating because I'm a good student. Jesus. And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. But she's like, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't.
Yeah.
So I've always stepped on her side.
And you have to.
And it's funny because so many parents, it's just,
Don't.
I don't get it when parents say, oh, the teenagers, it's so hard, you're just going to hate it. I love every single minute of it.
And that's so cool. And, it's so important that we're on their side. It really, really is. I know that's what we did. I was constantly, unless she got disrespectful and mouthy.
Right.
Then I'm like, ain't gonna happen.
Right.
But it's people always say, oh, these kids, and we touched on this yesterday. Like, we have no skin in the game. It's our skin, you know. They're in your skin, but just so you know, just so you know, and to disassociate yourself from whatever that child is doing at the time, or what anything that's happening to that kid. Oh, these teenagers, they don't. It just blows my mind. You have every skin in the game. You can't just disassociate like that's not your kid, or I don't know what the heck you're thinking. But it's what you just said is so true, because we have to be connected on their level, because they're on their level. So we have to come in on their level. And one thing we talked about this in one of the earlier episodes. It used to piss me off. This got an email from me. if a teacher said this, an administrator, I don't care who you were, you got an email from me when you said this, and the email was asking for an appointment to come in and talk to them. This used to piss me off. These kids need to act like adults. These kids,
No, they don't.
what? This is a kid. And
Right.
guess what? The 4 years
Exactly.
they're in college, those 4 years that they're there, they're kids then too. So when you start acting like an adult,
Right.
maybe we can maybe talk about this
Oh.
kid acting like, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I did, nope, I'm coming in. I didn't give him an inch, not an inch. No, this is a child. This is a child. Now, some kids are more mature than other kids, so you deal with them on that level. But
Yeah,
there's-
some kids can play the game better.
yeah,
Right. Right.
exactly.
Right.
And I had a friend, well, not a friend, but there was this girl that, man, could she play the game? Hi, Miss Polly, how are you? No, no, no. Turn her head, and she's like, "Wah." And I went, wow, that kid can play the game.
Yeah.
That's a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. And again, it is probably a learned thing for her,
Yeah.
you know, within
Yeah.
her family.
She learned that from somebody.
Yeah, but let me tell you, just again, hearing your story about how you've raised such a wonderful individual, you know, it really is, there's a collective consciousness that's happening here. You know, you wanted a certain thing for your child, Polly, and then obviously Con, and then to work on it from, again, we'll go back to like the frequency, right? Just to be on that same frequency, which ended up like basically, you know, you're magnetizing all of the things that have to, you know, line up in order for this to happen for her. That's
And I
that's
don't,
awesome.
I hope you guys really understand
Mm-hmm.
that that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
That's rare.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just letting you know. This, I mean, you should be able to look at Anna's friends and the people that she's been with for the past 4 years. I mean, just take high school
Mm-hmm.
and know how rare this is. This is extremely rare. I mean, and I always knew it was there with you guys, but not until, you know, we started doing this podcast, and
Mhm.
I do a lot of reading and research and all, because I don't want to get on this thing and sound like an idiot.
She doesn't sound like an idiot.
Never sound like an idiot. You're one of the brightest women I know.
Yeah.
Well, I, you know, especially, and you know, and we have to be clear here. This, we are not experts. None of
Right.
us are. We are going to have experts on, but so far we haven't felt the need to ask for an expert. I think once we get more into the mental health aspect of things, then we'll ask the experts to come on. None of us are experts. We can only speak to our own experience and
Mhm.
observations.
Right.
And so that's what we do here. But to what's that old, you guys are really dialed in.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
that's that. And Con, I gotta tell you, when we were back in Greece doing some of the things that
It shall not be named.
that's a whole other podcast that YouTube would take down. Just saying. And by the way, Nicole's heard all those stories like twice. Each. So I if somebody would have told me back then that we'd be here right now talking like this, I would have called the authorities on them. I would have said, you need medication. You are smoking something you shouldn't be smoking. You are hallucinating, because that is not going to be us in 30-something years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I, you know, you always had that thing about you, Con, that was a little bit different. And having said what I just said, it doesn't surprise me that you guys are getting ready to send out this child that is so extraordinary, that and so grounded. And you know, to say she's smart is obvious,
Mhm.
but she's grounded, she's calm and confident. I love that she stands up for herself, because I am so all about that.
Yeah, she loves herself. She loves her body. She just, it's awesome to be around. But you know,
it is.
one concern, I really appreciate what you're saying. It really means a lot because we have done it very consciously and with tremendous amount of love and intention.
Mhm.
But I worry sometimes her, stepping out into the world on her own. Sometimes I go, have we done this too much?
Mhm.
So, but it's interesting because her best buddy's parents are very opposite us. They're like shoving her, to do stuff on her own all the time, and she has no confidence.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
But Anna, when she's given a task, she does it with confidence. She does it well. So I'm hoping that when she, has to get on the train to go downtown, to go to the University of Colorado, Denver, and do all this stuff on her own, that she's, I'm sure she'll be able to manage it. But it sometimes makes me go, oh God, I hope we didn't do too much of it.
Yeah.
No, just do a couple of dry runs. I mean, you're gonna worry her parents.
Right.
Do a couple of dry runs, one of you on one side of it, one of you on the other side of it, just to make sure she knows what she's logistically, she knows what she's doing. And, just the first time Nicole drove to school on her own, I thought all the hair was going to fall out of my head. Like, I'm not a worrier. I'm a fly by the seat of your pants kind of gal.
Yeah, she is.
And, but that was trippy.
White knuckling it.
That was trippy. We followed her for like 2 days. That was trippy. So, it's, she's going to shock you. She's going to shock you. She's going to shock the shit out of you. And, she is, because she's going to be, and I'm sure.
Have baby wipes.
Be ready. Because, but yeah, you just want to be sure logistically. You don't, there's certain things, when safety, all that kind of thing. So you just want to make sure that, she's doing it the right way, and she knows, what she's doing and getting off the right stop and stuff like that, and not to stop too early, stuff like that. And, but she's capable. You guys have done an amazing job with her. She's going to think shit's going to happen. And, when we took Nicole to school, and then we stayed longer than any other parent. Well, that's not true.
Maybe another couple parents.
There were some parents, because it was an art school. A lot of kids had, mental health issues and stuff. They're all artists there.
Right.
And so there were some parents that were still there when we left, but we were definitely one of the last to go. Okay. Oh, we have to watch the time.
Darn it.
Especially, I know, especially in a Zoom. So, but she's gonna get through whatever because there's gonna be like little stuff. Really, you don't know how to do that type of deal, and but she's gonna figure it out, because the last thing she's gonna want to do is call you guys and say, I don't know how to do something. She's gonna want to do it on her own. And
yeah, she's got the annoying thing that Con has.
Whatever. Like how she
it's so annoying. Whatever he does it well. Not well, fantastically. Give him. He doesn't even do. It's not even like he doesn't do anything half-assed. He does everything beautifully and brilliantly and terrifically. And she's got that too. And I'm like, yay! But sometimes, God, could you just screw something up?
I know. Don't you just get jealous of people like that? It's like, how do you do that?
How am I supposed to parent you and criticize if you don't?
Yeah.
Do it?
I know exactly.
Well, just say mine is my Constantinos is the complete opposite.
Oh.
But anyway.
Again, another podcast.
Whole other podcast.
That's how they separated the two of us with the same name. You know that.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, that one. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Oh, the graceful one. Yes.
Yeah.
The graceful? What?
Graceful.
With all this stuff that's going on, it's all coming in.
This is all color. This is all color, people. This is all color. Thank you.
Yeah, my salon doesn't open until June. I'm so upset.
Yeah, I just did a box at home.
Yeah.
I'm this close, but I can hold out.
I dye mine gray so I can look more sophisticated.
Oh, is that
Oh,
what
okay, is
that is?
I'm only
Is that what
23.
that is? That's
This has
awesome.
been really fun.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
been. Well, we're definitely gonna have you back. There's we probably have like 50 topics that we have right now.
Oh,
and
great,
each topic is a series.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'll be frequenting Denver because my
Yes.
boyfriend lives there. So
Oh,
She was just there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just there.
Love to see you when this whole thing gets better.
Yeah,
that would be fun. I would love that.
And if she does anything, just call me. Tell
Just,
me. I'll
you know,
snap
just
her in the
Yeah.
Lasso. Or do you know what is this now? That Gong Show, like with the big.
Oh yeah, there you
Right,
go.
right,
Get the hook, pull her back. So
and
yeah,
he's like that. He's cooks Greek food like nobody's business.
yeah, he does. He
Jesus.
does.
And I know how to eat with my mouth.
He does. They have way better quality produce than
So
we do.
excited.
So
Yeah.
so we're definitely gonna have you back. The one topic I know we're gonna have you back for is raising kids in a multicultural house,
Mm.
in a multicultural family. But we have a million topics, and we'll definitely ask you guys back, especially now that we have Zoom and we can do that. Makes it easy. But let's keep in touch for next week to figure out a schedule so that we can interview the girls.
Oh, yeah. She
That'll
really
be
wants
fun.
to do that. Makes it
Okay.
cool.
And this will be the topic. We're going to get it from their perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Then you hear the
Okay.
truth, not the stuff that we're telling you. You hear the
Yeah,
truth.
that
Now.
was-
Right? You're like, let me just like, yeah, let's take off the veil.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know who these people are. I only met them like 2 weeks ago.
But they told me to tell you.
Yeah, but they said- now pay me. No. We did one real quick. We did one topic was kids lie. And
Oh.
so it was
They're like, I never did that.
no,
Okay.
it was hard.
Okay. Let me tell you that this woman here, when my daughter was across from me telling me about, like, basically telling me the truth behind the lie, she was just egging her on. Oh yeah, oh so good. What else? What else? But as soon as they flipped around, just
I
like,
was a wreck. I didn't think I was going to be a wreck. So, there's not a lot. We don't have a lot of secrets here in the town, but apparently we have some, and
there were good ones too.
it was rough. It was rough. If you get a chance, watch it. It was hilarious. But yeah, so it's really fun to get the kids' perspective.
Yeah, that I'm
And
looking forward to that.
We'll do that next week. I'll text you about that. But we're gonna do our sign off, and
we never get this shit right.
we never get it right. We usually leave Nicole alone, but she's not here. So everybody, thanks for watching.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Very much.
Please subscribe and
Okay.
comment down below.
Thumbs up, like us.
Like us. Follow us on Instagram.
Yes, and I'm sure there's
Okay.
something else.
Click the bell.
Yes.
Yes,
For
and
notifications,
for
people.
notifications. And we're streaming on Spotify, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.
Oh,
And
cool.
obviously
I
YouTube,
know.
because you're
Yeah.
watching us on YouTube.
And look us up under A Parent's Truth. It'll
Yes.
be Nicole put it in here somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah,
but
she's gonna put it in the. She's gonna put the links
Magic.
below. Okay.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you very much, Polly.
You
Thank you
guys,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.